Hey everyone, this is Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology. Today we're going to take a look at Venus and Mars opposing one another one more time, but this time we're going to take a look at it from the standpoint of things to watch for, manifestations of the symbolism that you might actually observe. Yesterday we looked at this opposition from a more philosophical perspective and from the standpoint of different wisdom traditions and how they hold the tension of these opposites in a much broader way. Today we're going to narrow in and look at the more concrete way in which we might see them in our lives, which is just as important, right? We kind of do both on this channel all the time. So anyway, that's our agenda for today. Before we get into it, remember to like and subscribe, share your comments and reflections. It really helps our channel to grow when you subscribe, especially if you listen all the time. It's of course free to do so. You can find transcripts of any of these daily talks on my website, which is nightlightastrology.com. Now, a few events coming up that I want to turn you on to before I promote the Kickstarter for the day. You go over to nightlightastrology.com and I want you to go to the events page. Go to in-person events. This is not an online event. We've had some people sign up from all over the country. This is for people who are in Minneapolis. So if you're in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis, you're in Minnesota, we're holding a winter solstice gathering on the 21st in Minneapolis at the Grapevine Collective. It's free to attend. RSVP for us, though, because we want to make sure that we have enough tea and cookies and things like that. So yeah, it's going to be a fun evening of meditation and ritualizing the solstice moment together. So if you're in the area, please feel free to attend. It's free. Just make sure that you don't sign up if you're not from Minneapolis and not coming, because we've had some people from California signing up. It's not an online event. It's an in-person event. So anyway, but we also do, if you go to events, click on live talks, we do have an online event coming up. December 19th, Thursday night from 7 to 9 p.m. I'm giving a talk on the 6th house, the place of slavery, sickness, sacrifice, and service. Why? It's so empowering to understand the why behind houses and behind topics in astrology, because once you know that, you know a lot more than just a list of topics. And so we're going to look at the deeper philosophical roots of this house and why words like slavery, sickness, sacrifice, and service belonged to this in ancient astrology. So that'll be fun. If you can't make it live, you can register there. If you can't make it live to the webinar next Thursday night, you will get the recording afterward. So those are a few things coming up. Now, obviously, we are also in the midst of our Kickstarter campaign with a goal of 1,937 backers by January 1st. As of the time I am recording this, we are just a few backers shy of 400, which is fantastic, but that means that we still have, you know, a good 1,500 left to go. And so we really do need the support of a huge amount of backers prior to New Year's Eve still. There are a bunch of rewards available when you support the channel. Go over to the Kickstarter. You can find the link in the comment section of this video, pinned to the top in the description of this video, or go over to nightlightastrology.com and click on the 2025 Kickstarter link. Once you go over there, you're going to see that on the right-hand side, as you scroll down, are some different options. You can reward without, you can pledge without a reward, any dollar amount, and every single donation counts. It's a $5 donation, a $1 donation, 15, 20. It all counts. It all helps. And then you'll see that we have a variety of rewards. They're really cool. Calendar Astrology of 2025 talk that I'm not doing anywhere else. My book that's being released in audiobook and text form, chapter by chapter. Year ahead horoscope readings. This is about 8 hours worth of year ahead horoscopes for every sign, sun and rising. You get all of them when you get that reward at $100. That's a great one. Then we have a bunch of classes, and you'll see me describing those in the video at the end of today's talk. So on that note, every day during Kickstarter season, I like to talk about things we bake into the content and also reasons that I think are worth supporting the channel. So today I want to mention this. I kind of have turned the corner into talking about, if you find that this is your experience on the channel, please consider donating. So one of the things that I really like to do throughout the year, that I make a point of doing, is to help people when it comes to transits that everybody seems to know and recognize as difficult. It's a Venus-Pluto opposition. It's a Uranus-Mars conjunction or opposition. You know, it's something that we all go, oh my God. And what I like to do is give people a lot of different ways of looking at difficult transits. So if you turn to this channel as a reliable source of uplifting and encouraging information about astrological transits that are real, that are realistic, that are pragmatic, but that also give you ways of understanding philosophical and spiritual containers to place things in, so that when difficult transits approach, it's not just fear and anxiety. you have a real diverse range of archetypal expressions that you have learned about through the channel. And if that's ever been helpful for you, then I hope you'll consider supporting the channel, because a lot of deliberate thought goes into that. And I think that that is a real value, because I know myself as someone who deals with astrological anxiety at times, especially with my own kids, my family. It's really helpful to have well-rounded takes on astrological transits so that we can be both realistic and also encouraging. So if that's a value to you, please consider supporting the channel. And on that note, we will turn our attention now to more on the Venus-Mars opposition. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. We're looking at Venus opposing Mars today. Yesterday, we took a look at this combination, this opposition between Venus and Mars from the standpoint of a larger metaphysical framework. And I said yesterday, it's important to do that because we want to not only use astrology to predict and describe events in the material world, but we also want to be able to put them into a spiritual container so that we can reflect upon our experiences, learn and grow from them, and understand why they're part of reality from the standpoint of these ancient mystical traditions, a tradition like astrology. So today, though, I also said yesterday that it is very important for us to also be able to name and describe and predict things that happen in our world, in our lives, which we are invested in, which we're here to live. So let's take a look today at 5 things that we can watch for given this Venus-Mars opposition. Let me put the real-time clock up and let's refresh on the timeline first. So I have just isolated Venus and Mars. You'll see that Venus is opposing Mars. This is Thursday, December 12th at about 5 in the morning Central Time. So you wake up, you're taking this in today, whatever time zone you're on. This has probably already happened, and it was building yesterday. However, it is important to mention that 3-degree engagement range that ancient astrologers worked with does not close for us until Saturday. So we have today, tomorrow, and Saturday to continue working with this transit. This is the time range within which the karmic fruit will blossom and be heavy on the tree, so to speak. So that's the overall timeline we're working with. If we back this up just a bit, you may have been feeling this, as I said yesterday, as early as Monday, December 9th, around the time when Venus entered that 3-degree engagement range. So if any of this is describing things that have already happened, that would not be surprising. However, for many people, it may very well be today, tomorrow, Saturday, where you see some of these things manifest. And again, yesterday, we reflected on kind of some of the archetypal and philosophical meanings of Venus and Mars in the greater scope of reality itself, according to these ancient mystics. So today, let's look at it from a very practical standpoint. 5 things to watch for. Number 1, oh, wait a sec. I almost forgot. So I put up the dignities really quick here so that you can see just a few little interesting nuggets. One thing that I notice right away is that within the span of this transit, let me just hold on 1 second here, just double check something. Yeah. So I think what's fascinating about this transit between the 2 planets is, if we put this together, here we go. So as the 2 are opposing one another, Mars is in Jupiter's bound, while Venus is in Mercury's bound. So in Aquarius, up to the first 7th degree and up to the first 6th degree in Leo, we have these planets in the bound of Mercury and Jupiter. Why is that significant, you ask? Because you may remember that Mercury and Jupiter stand in mutual reception by opposition in their detriments right now. And so, as I've been saying, those 2 planets are working something out. They are a part of the T-square that involves the Jupiter-Saturn dynamic. They are part of an ongoing paradigmatic change. Mercury and Jupiter are. And so this Venus-Mars taking place in the bound of Mercury and the bound of Jupiter is really interesting. Let's look at Mercury and Jupiter's placement really quickly. And what I want you to notice is the way in which Mercury is configured to both. Mercury's retrograding into trine and sextile with Mercury and Mars. Now, why is that important? Well, we have Mercury in the domicile and bound of Jupiter, and Jupiter in the domicile of Mercury, and Jupiter working through the bound of Venus. So we have a very intimate connection between these four planets right now, is the point. And we might add to this that if we go forward just a few more days, Mercury will station and turn direct. So we are right now, as we take this in, we are at Mercury's station point. Mercury's station point is taking place at the 6th degree, which it will reach tomorrow. And so it's really important to look at that little nuance and say, okay, Venus and Mars, they're opposing one another, right? And we're going to unpack what that might mean. But their opposition is very intimately tied to Mercury's station, Mercury turning direct, Mercury being in Jupiter's sign, Jupiter's bound, Mercury opposing Jupiter with mutual reception, both in their detriment. These two planets are working something out. I talked about reluctant agreements. I talked about something bad being something good. I talked about the way in which we might have to look at something from the perspective of its opposite. Okay, so could it be that this Venus-Mars opposition is in a way amplifying the importance of the Mercury-Jupiter opposition? Do you see how that works? Because they're in the bounds of Mercury and Jupiter, so we can maybe see some connections to deeper philosophical, intellectual, ideological values, beliefs being debated, exchanged, compromises being sought, mediation of conflicts of idea, thought system, or strategy. So Venus and Mars is going to play right into that. Okay, now that we've done all of that, 5 things to watch for, and we'll focus a little bit more exclusively on Venus and Mars. Well, I have a lot of things to say, so don't worry. If one of these doesn't resonate, another one may. The cold, impersonal in Venus imposing her will. Now that sounds weird because we don't think of Venus as imposing her will. We think of Venus as harmonizing. Venus is coming off a conjunction with Pluto. And if none of us are, I don't think any of us are so ignorant that we don't think that the goddess Aphrodite has her own willpower. It may look a little bit different. She may exercise it a little bit differently than Mars does, but that does not mean that she does not have her own desire and her way of getting what she wants. And I'm using this obviously as in relation to the goddess, but as an archetype, as a field, however you want to think about it, as an energy, whatever way of conceptualizing it works for you. The point is that Venus has a way of getting what she wants. And she has a way of imposing her will. Doesn't look like Mars. But in this case, I think one thing to consider is that while Mars in Leo is very much about the personal will and the personal exertion of will and needs and desire and ego and personality, Venus in Aquarius may be a little bit more cold, impersonal, systematic, objective, and rational. And she may be sort of enforcing a view on Mars that Mars finds to be somehow degrading to Mars's ego. So let me give you a situation. I'll give you a good one and I'll give you a bad one. Let's say that Venus has to state a rule that is equitable, fair, balanced, rational, that Mars doesn't like. Mars wants something, Mars needs something. Mars has a special individual personal situation or request. And Venus says, well, there's a whole rule, there's a whole system here, and you're not an exception to it. You're not special. There's nothing special about your situation. Wow. Think of in some ways how challenging that might be for someone who believes that they are a special case. The ego thinks I'm a special case. I shouldn't have to submit to some kind of objective, cold, institutional, rule-bound system of equity and harmony if it doesn't take into account my personal nature, my personal needs, my personal situation. But Venus could say, well, I'm sorry, but this is just how the system works. This is the best, most beautiful, fairest system. And Mars may protest, saying you're not taking personal context. You're not looking at the nuances and context of each situation. Let me give you an example from the legal system. In every court case, there is something that we call precedent, right? So, and you attorneys out there, you know more about this than I do. But, within a court case, lawyers or attorneys will often argue, well, this is the precedent. These are how previous cases that were similar to this one were decided. And the idea being that some sense of objective application of the law, the same for everyone, is appropriate. Whereas on the other hand, there will be a way in which a smart, let's say a defense attorney who's feeling that their client is not being treated fairly and looked at personally as precedent is being applied, may say something like, well, this is an exceptional situation. This is not exactly like that other situation. So this precedent can't be used. Do you see what I mean? So Venus could be looked at right now as trying to make Mars submit to something that is beautiful, fair, equitable, rational, and objective. And Mars could be feeling like it's impersonal. It's not contextual. It's not specific. It's not taking into account the reality of individual beings. It's like we're not cogs in a machine, right? So one way of looking at things right now that does not completely paint Mars as the bad guy would be to paint Venus as the bad guy, right? Well, how could Venus be the villain in this moment? You know what I mean? Well, the villain would be someone who maybe in this case has a standard, an ethic, a morality, a virtue, or a principle of some kind that on paper looks very good, but is somehow actually degrading someone on the other side, is actually not nuanced and personal and contextual enough. It's too cold, too distant, too detached. This would be one thing to watch for right now that I like to flip things. So I'm going to say some stuff about how Mars could be the jerk in, because the oppositions are like that. Either side can become the problematic side. So we have to look at both of them. All right. Number 2 would be the king bending the knee. Well, here's the thing is that sometimes I'm so special, I'm the exception. Maybe that's privilege. Maybe that's pride. Maybe that's power. Maybe that's entitlement. Maybe that's arrogance. And Venus, coming off the conjunction with Pluto in Aquarius, could be saying, you know what? There's something bigger than you. There's something that requires that you submit your ego, bend the knee, right? Become a servant, drop your own personal agenda, and see the good, the greater good here. The greater good is going to require submission or sacrifice on your part, Mars and Leo. So that would be another way of looking at it. Flip it, right? Now, when I think about the king bending the knee, I also think about what makes a good leader and what makes a good servant is someone who knows when to be a team player and when to be a leader, when to sacrifice personal interest or power for the sake of the many. There are so many texts in the I Ching that say a good leader is one who, whatever power they have, is redistributed to empower and benefit the lives of the people. And then that way they generate the affection of the people empower the leader, and the leader takes that empowerment and finds ways of redistributing that glory, that wealth, that abundance. Could we be seeing that ancient relationship of good leaders knowing when to step back, knowing when to let others step forward? Talked about a dimmer switch with the Mercury Cazimi. Good kings, good leaders, whether you're a parent or you have a role you play on a team or whatever, you know how to turn your dimmer switch up and down. All right, number 3, revising old conflicts in relationships. Mars retrograde can bring up old conflicts, just like a Venus retrograde can. And so we have a Mars retrograde that, opposing Venus, may have us revisiting certain kinds of power dynamics and power struggles with a new eye, with an eye for how to create peace, with an eye for how to do things differently, more constructively, more beneficially, more effectively. Mars retrograde is a great time to look at a transformation related to Mars, related to will, strength, power, perseverance, effort, work, determination, all Mars words. And how can we do those things to be a better social participant? How can our will, our ego, our personality, our own little sun, our own little solar power center, how can that be used to improve relationships by handling conflicts or struggles or differences from a more mature or reflective or less reactionary standpoint? These are great problems to have right now, where there's an opportunity to look at old conflicts, old struggles, old slights, old wounds around the ego, around self-worth, and to say, you know what? I don't need to win to feel good about myself. You know, I can be powerful without being dominant. I can be submissive without feeling like a doormat. You know, there these little tensions, these little nuances to how we work with power dynamics in life can be addressed right now in really interesting ways. And some of these will be perennial. There'll be conflicts that we've circled around on the spiral staircase, many levels lower, and now we're back, but we're on a higher level of the spiral, let's say. Number 4 will be collective versus personal tensions. I've mentioned this already, but the Leo Aquarius axis will commonly highlight things like an awareness of our collective, the collective dimension of something versus the personal reality. If the collective overwhelms or subsumes the personal, it's problematic. And if the personal overwhelms or subsumes a relational awareness of reality as an ecology of being, it is problematic. And so just watch for the tension between how we identify relationally through groups, through people, through relationships in any way, and how we identify individually. And some refinement of that tension, some different way of holding it may be presenting itself right now. Finally, creative sparks are flying. Look, the simplest thing to say about Mars and Venus is that they for as much as they like to fight, they like to make love. You know, they like to get it on. And so should we, all right? so, so, I mean, for real though, Mars Venus is very creative. The tension between the two, it's like, you know, probably everybody here can relate to the playfulness, the banter, the tension that at some point collapses into love, into play, into sex, into creativity. Here's something that I've noticed about myself over the years. When I'm in peak states of tension, I almost always end up reaching for my guitar and just being able to channel that tension creatively. It's amazing how I'll find things and play things. And I'm not any kind of musician, right? I'm just a hobbyist, right? But for me, for my therapeutic experience of playing an instrument, there's nothing like tension to work with. And I think this is why in the same ancient world in which astrology was taking place, was coming about, was becoming really like a major spiritual paradigm for the entire like civilized world in that part of the world. Like the same people were calling it the music of the spheres and using music and musical theory and discoveries about the science of music to aid in healing and therapy and convalescence. I mean, music as medicine is an idea that has always been around, but music as medicine is being unpacked from a sort of the standpoint of musical theory around the same time that astrology is being called the music of the spheres. So when these sparks fly, when this tension is in the air, don't miss the opportunity to be creative. Whether that means that you just try to lean into the tango of the moment. If it's with a person, turn it into some fun, or, you know, get a little wild, see what happens. Because some of the best things we create are really stand on that razor's edge of feeling like this is a conflict I have to win, to this is a conflict that I need to move into play with, intimacy with, lovemaking with. There's so many ways to make love in the world, make love in our psyches, with a partner, even with our friends. It's a creative choice to take tension and push it in that direction. And that breakthrough that occurs when we do is usually, we describe it as like a creative exhilaration, a kind of catharsis. I think most catharsis is when we take the road of creativity in the midst of tension. So just some advice. I hope it helps. I hope that you don't kill anyone. No, nobody kills you. That will all be very well in our souls. After I sign off, I'm going to tell you about the rewards that are available when you support the channel. We really need a lot of help to get where we want to go. We have a long ways to go. And every day, people chipping in $5, $10, $15, or picking up a reward, chipping in more and picking up one of our programs or one of the great rewards we offer is how we keep this channel going. That's how we support everything we do. And so I thank you for all those who have donated. If you haven't, please consider donating and supporting the channel. Your pledges aren't collected until January 1st, if and when the Kickstarter is successful. So just know that as well. All right, that's it. Hope you're having a good one. See you tomorrow. Bye. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking around. I'm going to tell you about the different rewards that we offer when you donate and support our channel in the year ahead. So you'll find a link to the Kickstarter in the description of this video, in the comments section of this video, as well as on our website, nightlightastrology.com. If you head over there, you'll see at the top of the page there is a menu item that says Kickstarter 2025. You can click on that and be taken over to the Kickstarter campaign page. So once you're there, if you scroll down on the right-hand side, you're going to see different pledge levels and different gifts and sales that we run as a way of saying thank you for your support. So among those, our most popular offering by far are the major discounts that we offer on our training programs. So if you are interested in studying astrology at Nightlight in 2025, whether you're a brand new student or a currently enrolled student who's thinking of taking one of our year 2, 3 horary programs, you're going to find that these are the best rates that we run on the entire year. And we do this as a way of both saying thank you and also of helping us raise funds to support the channel, our staff, and everything we do. So you'll see attend one Nightlight course there. That's about 50% off the total cost of the program and about $500 off the early bird rate. And then you'll scroll down and you'll see that if you bundle 2 courses together, the savings go way up. Bundle 3, they go up even more. I mean, the difference between the 2 and 3 class package is $200. So $200 more, you get 3 of our year-long programs. And if you get all the way to the 4 class pass, then you have all 4 years of our program. You can take them at any pace you like, renew them whenever you like. There's no timeline on when you use these class passes. And you will have all 4 years of content at about 75% off each of the programs individually when you get that bundle. So those are our best savings for sure. Highly recommend those. If you have any questions about our courses or programs, email us info@nightlightastrology.com or look at the website under the classes page, courses page. You'll find information about each of the individual courses we offer. And then if you scroll up, you're going to find some of our other programs that are greatly discounted. Ashley's Herbal Foundations apprenticeship course, which many people are interested in who come through our Moon Circle that Ashley and I lead each month. You scroll up, you're going to find our masterclass series for 2025, greatly discounted, as well as our Roots and Spheres Moon Circle, greatly discounted. There's hundreds of dollars of savings in each of those. So we really try to make sure that the Kickstarter acts as a good flash sale for all of our programs. You'll then find some really nice prices on previous archive talks, like our 2024 archive masterclass bundle, which is about 30 hours worth of content on specialized topics in astrology. You can see the topics listed in each of the bundles as you scroll through. 2023's masterclass bundle, huge savings on those and a lot of really great content. You'll see a few reading options as you continue to go from the bottom to the top. You'll see the 2025 year ahead mini reading. There's only 30 of these. These are individualized birth chart readings that I do, looking at the most significant transit in your birth chart for 2025. I record those personally. You'll then see that there is an Ask 3 Horary Questions option where you can get 3 horary questions to redeem whenever you'd like within the year ahead. Those are kind of yes, no predictive questions. Will I get the job? Will we get together? Things like that. Then you'll see the Astrology for Complete Beginners course is also discounted through the Kickstarter. This is a great 10 hours worth of content for people who are brand new to astrology. So whether that's you or maybe a gift for somebody else. And then you're going to see some individual master classes that are greatly discounted from the past year. So all of 2024's masterclass series are the archives of which 8 to 10 hours each are on sale. And then scroll up a little bit more and you'll see one of our most popular offerings, which are the year ahead horoscope readings. These year ahead horoscope readings include 30 to 45 minutes of a breakdown of all the major transits of the year ahead for each sun and rising signs. You get all of them with this package, which is a great deal. It's like 10 hours worth of content, 8, 9, 10 hours, somewhere in there. I haven't finished recording all of them yet. So as of the time I'm recording this, I'm anticipating it'll land around 10 hours. But yeah, anyway, so you scroll up. You'll see those horoscope videos will all be delivered to you right around January 1st when the Kickstarter ends. Scroll up a little bit more, you'll find The Oracle Speaks, which is my book, and this is being released chapter by chapter. It is a book about the inner experience of learning to speak with oracles, and it is being released chapter by chapter in both text and audiobook form, so you can listen along to my new book. And that takes us up to the Astrology of 2025 video. This, for your donation at the $50 level, gives you an exclusive talk breaking down all of the major astrological transits of 2025. I look in depth at some of the biggest things happening in the year ahead and break them down in advance. And that's the only place I release that video or that take on the whole year ahead. Finally, at the very top, the most basic level of donation, you'll see the Astrology of 2025 calendar. This is a PDF calendar we design and make that allows you to track and move along with the astrology as the year unfolds. This is also great if you want to track what we're going to be talking about week by week on my channel. You'll get a glimpse at the biggest transits of each day and month and week. And that will give you some sense of where we're heading with our coverage of the astrology on the channel as the year unfolds. So again, any questions about any of the rewards that you see, email us info@nightlightastrology. Link is in the description, comments, or on the website, nightlightastrology.com. Help us get to 1,937 backers by January 1st. We deeply appreciate your contribution. We try to make sure we have some really special rewards to say thank you when you contribute. All right, take it easy. Bye.